GOGI, GOGI. Learn GOGI tools, real lessons to live by.
Hi, everyone. My name is GOGI Mom Carolyn, and we welcome you to our Zoom tonight or during the morning, whenever you're watching. And now, Coach Taylor, take it away.
You know, when we meet twice a month as a leadership team, and we get to welcome one of our leaders who's now living in a very different address than they were just not too long ago. And we are very, very lucky tonight to have Coach Patrick with us. So we're very happy. And look, Coach James, he's at work with his hard hat, and he's still with us too. Yay, so wonderful. Now, Coach James, don't you jeopardize your wonderful reputation at work by lollygagging around with your GOGI family. If you have to leave at any time, you feel free to just log out, okay?
Look at right here.
Unbelievable.
So I'm at the San Diego airport, and we're building a bridge that goes the whole length of the airport right now. So okay. I did want to kind of meet Patrick real quick, and then I do have to get back to work.
Well, you know, I'd like you and Patrick to talk a few moments so that when you leave, you've asked him all the questions necessary. So, James, why don't you ask Coach Patrick a couple questions?
Okay. First of all, hi, Coach Patrick. How you doing? Welcome home.
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm ecstatic. I'm happy.
I think we talked on the phone. So far, since you've been out, are you comfortable yet with your cell phone or any of the technology?
Comfortable, that's a very broad term. So I am learning fast. I love the technology. I don't want to throw it against the wall like some people say, because I'm like a child, like soaking up the information. So absolutely, I ran into problems and things, but I work through them, or I ask someone how to do it. I'm just so happy to be free. I'm ecstatic. And any problems I have in here with technology or otherwise are nothing compared to problems that we have on the inside. I was ready to welcome these problems. So I'm loving the technology, learning.
And thank you, Patrick. And what's your favorite GOGI tool and why?
You know what? I really have two favorite GOGI tools because I think they're the ones I use most often. And positive thoughts, because I believe everything starts with my thoughts. How can I use any of the other GOGI tools if I'm not thinking positive and to begin to use any of the GOGI tools? So positive thoughts, I really love positive thoughts, and I try to keep my thoughts positive at all times. My second tool is claim responsibility, because I was a person before who nothing was my fault, you know, or someone made me do this, or someone made me act a certain way. And claim responsibility brought me back to acknowledging my own responsibility for my behaviors, regardless of what someone else did. So I have to take responsibility for how I respond, and not worry about what someone else did or blame someone else for making me angry or making me do something that I know is wrong. So I love claim responsibility because it takes all the excuses out of your life.
And thank you, Patrick, GOGI Mom, Coach Taylor, Stacy J, Coach Johnny, Justin. I love y'all. I see you all. I feel bad that I can't stay, but I do have to get back to work.
Well, you build some bridges, Coach James. You build bridges physically, you build bridges emotionally, spiritually, and even in GOGI, you build bridges. So you are a bridge builder.
That's what we're doing.
All right. Well, good night,
All
Chip.
right. Nice talking to you. Go build some bridges.
What's so wonderful about our GOGI leaders is, first of all, they are extremely employable. Why? Because they have the tools that allow them to be the best type of employee. So Coach James has integrity. He shows up on time. He doesn't complain. He does his job even when he's missing his GOGI meetings, or even when he's out there in bad weather. Even when he has to work a night shift, he does it with joy in his heart. That's how we do it at GOGI. And that's why our GOGI leaders are so successful. And that's why I bring our GOGI leaders together to share with you their journey, because their journey is or can be your journey. It's utilizing those GOGI life tools to be the very best that you can be. I'm so happy that we have Coach Patrick. And what we're going to do, I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, and then each of us are going to ask him questions that we believe the viewer might want to know about Coach Patrick, about GOGI, the GOGI life tools, getting out here, and how he's handling life. Well, the biggest news, I think, right now is the fact that Coach Patrick was a leader on a yard at an institution where I just learned a couple days ago that yard, that entire yard is going to be shut down. Prior to being shut down, that yard was a lot of problems for GOGI. We couldn't get the support, but yet Patrick never, ever, not for 1 minute wavered. When we lost his special project, he never wavered. He didn't get his certificates. He never wavered. When we lost a row of sheets of people that had been involved in GOGI, he never wavered. No matter how weak our ability was to support him, he never veered from what he knew was right for him. He knew that becoming a GOGI coach was right for him. And we try, at GOGI, we try, but we have 22 students on our database. We are really virtually unfunded at this point. So we're really operating off of the small amounts of donations. So we let balls drop all the time. But individuals like Patrick never, ever, ever let our weaknesses be his weakness. I want him to talk about the challenges he faced, because individuals who do GOGI face a lot of challenges. It's not like we're a massively funded program or we could just send people in and send materials in. We struggle for postage, and that causes our students to have to really, really work very hard. Patrick, can you share some of the challenges that you faced in writing 14 letters? And Coach Taylor, this is letter 14. Would you mind answering one of my letters?
Well, I think most of the problems at CCI were not necessarily problems with GOGI. And a brief summary, I can say we started off there when the GOGI was first starting at CCI Facility D. We had nothing. We had no books. I transferred from Chino. I had Teach Me How to GOGI book. We had no curriculum. So me and the other people who started GOGI, we had to type or handwrite lesson sheets for the other students. We set up the curriculum just off what we could from the one book. And, we started from scratch, basically with nothing. And the support there, as we've talked about, was, I should just say, not very enthusiastic at CCI Tehachapi. But we made it work. And that was the main thing. Once you fall in love with GOGI, as I did, you're willing to go above and beyond and do what you have to do to get your students and yourself, because we're all students continually, what they need to get the message out and keep teaching GOGI and teaching these tools to help people make positive decisions. So once we got the groups going and we got staff and CRM, and the groups actually we began to have problems with the CRM and just letting us have books that were sent and sitting in another room someplace, but they wouldn't go get them. So we had those problems with they wouldn't give us our materials. When we would get our materials, we had the staff who sat in the rooms and they did not want to process the materials. They just wanted to sit there and not be bothered and do what they had to, collect their checks, basically. So we had a lot of problems at Tehachapi with the CRM and the staff, but we persevered and we kept going. And I knew GOGI was not funded or partially funded here and there, and I never blamed them. And now that I've come out and I've been volunteering in the mailroom, I see the staff, the short staff that we have, that we volunteer to do all the work that needs to be done. So
yes.
It
your experience, you came out, you said, I'm here to volunteer. And we said, oh my gosh, we need you in the mailroom. Talk to me about what it's like to be in that GOGI mailroom and answering the mail.
That is an experience. Anyone who has said, hey, GOGI's making $1 million and making money, I can tell you that's not true. I work in the mailroom now. I volunteer. There's a small staff of us, and we sit there and we answer all the letters that come in. And it's one letter at a time. Each letter is read. Each letter is answered. Each request is considered and moved on to its appropriate place where it can be resolved or or dealt with the request. And it is something that I wish I could explain and everyone could see what goes on in this mailroom and the love and the attention that goes to each and every single letter that comes into GOGI.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to let Coach Johnny ask you a couple of questions that he believes our viewers will want to know about you and your GOGI journey, or the fact that CDCR is shutting down D-Yard at CCI, or that you're going to be part of other programs, or that you're coming into the mailroom. Coach Johnny may have a lot of questions. Coach Johnny, why don't you ask Coach Patrick a couple of questions, and then we'll let G-Rep Justin do the same.
One question, I think about your journey, and I think about some of the things that you went through to finally get out. And thank you for staying on the right track and staying committed and being an example to so many people who are going to be watching this. A lot of people think that all I need to do is get out of prison and everything's going to be rainbows and unicorns. So can you share some of the struggles that you've experienced and some of the fears coming out? Like, what are some of the things that you feared coming out that you come to realize, man, I have these tools to use to get through them?
Well, I'll try to get that one at a time. And if I don't answer everything, let me know. But one of the things that I've noticed that I've ran into, and I heard about it on the inside, and now I've experienced it on the outside, is a lot of rudeness that you run into out here in society. It is, especially I'm here in LA, and we know in this area that I'm in, it's literally Mad Max. It's like Mad Max around here. But I have been surprised at some of the rudeness, and that's one thing coming out of prison. If you come out with certain prison mentalities and without the tools to deal and cope, like your GOGI tools, yes, people are going to do things that in prison are considered taboo and that you're supposed to react in a certain way. The GOGI tools have helped me in that respect, in that I'm claiming responsibility for my own actions, and I can't sit there and judge what someone else is doing. I can't control them, but I can control myself. So that's definitely one of the things that I have seen a lot of out here is a lot of rudeness, a lot of disrespect. Even if I'm not involved, you just see it all the time. So I've had that. Personally, I've dealt with, I'm not going to say problems, but sometimes your family unification, and that doesn't go as smoothly as you hoped. And you hope that you're going to have this loving embrace and that you're going to be talking to your family every day. Well, when you get out, life still happens for them. They're still living a life that they were living before you came out. And it's not always going to be about talking to you 20 times a day now that you're out. And so that's one of the things, adjustments that I have to deal with. Another one is, depending on where you go, I'm in a transition home here in Los Angeles. They do not allow you to have a job for 90 days. So, that, again, you think you're going to come out and you're going to get a job. So you have these expectations, but you have to keep all expectations in a realistic realm and be prepared for change. Now I understand I can't work for 90 days. So that's a challenge that I have to overcome and deal with. And those are the main challenges that I've had. I will say that I have not felt some of the other things that many people say they felt weird walking in the store or with people walking around. In my personal situation, I'm the opposite. I say I'm like a newborn baby, and I'm enjoying and loving everything, and the people walking around me doesn't bother me. I'm ecstatic to be out and happy and, talking to everyone. So, yeah. But I discussed some of the problems that I faced.
So after you've been out how long?
I got out October 28th. So what are we now? That's about 40 days.
Yeah, about 40 days. And how much time did you serve?
I served 25 years. I was about 5 days short of 25 years.
Yeah. Who's counting? So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think one of the things too is like being in there, we have you really talked about it, like having a preconceived notion of what it's going to be like when I get out. What is something that you would share with somebody, whoever's listening, that you think could be the most helpful to them, regarding your GOGI tools, regarding life that you've experienced out here? What is something that you feel can really be helpful to somebody just getting out?
Well, I will say again that one of the number one things, in my opinion, is to stay adaptable and be ready and open to accept the challenges that are coming your way, and keep your expectations realistic. If you keep your expectations realistic, you won't face so much disappointment when those things are not realized. It's easy to say, I'm going to come out and I'm going to have a job in 9 days, and that job's going to pay me $250,000 a year. That's not a realistic expectation. So keeping all of your goals realistic and being adaptable is to me the number one thing. And that comes back to one of my favorite tools again, to both tools, and that's positive thoughts and claiming responsibility. Because no matter what happens out here, I need to stay positive. I need to keep my thoughts positive, and I need to deal with things in a positive manner, no matter what comes my way. And that leads right into my claiming responsibility for my actions. When things don't go my way, it doesn't matter if I think someone else is at fault or someone did me wrong. It doesn't matter if I believe that. And that's one of the great things about personal responsibility in GOGI is it doesn't matter what someone else did. I'm responsible for how I react. And that's what I maintain. I maintain that for myself, and that keeps me centered.
Yeah. And one thing I did want to share too is that just continue. It's kind of like I kind of equate us with computers. Like if it's not plugged in, it doesn't work. And everybody goes to so many groups inside to get out. But once they get out, some people stop going to groups. So I think your involvement with groups, your involvement with giving back, like you going to the mailroom and being of service, is a great example to those getting out. Understanding that, look, you have to stay plugged in, and you don't have to, but if you don't, there's going to be consequences. And at the same time, reach out to this community. This is a community of people at GOGI who love and support people and continue to want us to be successful. And my experience is that I haven't met anybody. I've been out almost 5 years, and I haven't met anybody who's done it alone. So I really want to commend you for your hard work. Thank you for your commitment to the mailroom. Thank you for the commitment to thousands of GOGI students, and just continue to keep up the good work.
Right, absolutely, and I thank you for that. And I just want to add one more comment on that, and on top of that, and we all have to do the work that we do to get out of prison. But if you believe that that's just a chore and a checkbox that you have to do, it's not. I need to change my life, and I changed my life. So if it is sincere within you, that's going to shine when you go to board, and when you're not going to board, in your life in general. So, we always talk about in prison, we talk about people who have you internalize this or internalize that. There's a difference between a person who's trying to check the boxes and get out of prison and someone who's committed to change their life. And that's the difference on whether you keep giving back or whether you're just trying to do what you needed to do to get out of prison.
Great, beautiful. I love that. Thank you, Coach Johnny, and thank you, Coach Patrick. Cheer up, Justin. What do you think our audience is going to want to know about Patrick or his journey, or what questions do you have for him?
It's really about when he was inside, starting up the GOGI groups there. I think those are real important to have. And he started them up on his own, if there was a lot of interest or not. And I know our group started with my chance encounter with a coach, because I didn't know much about GOGI until then. And Patrick being a coach, he's done a lot of GOGI work. It's not easy to become a coach. For those that did it, man, really great job, dedication and everything. But, something that would inspire those people that are in prison that are coaches that may not be running groups. What did you get out of running that group? All that practice and rehearsal, not to say it in a negative term, but, repetition. That's what all the books talk about, repetition, doing that. And how did that help you prepare for board and to get you ultimately out here?
Well, if I may, I'll talk a little bit about my GOGI journey. I was at Chino, and I believe it was about 2013, and preparing for board. I had never heard of GOGI, and someone said, "Take GOGI. The board loves GOGI." I didn't know what it was. I got a hold of a GOGI book, and I started doing things like my life story. And like many people who I've heard as a coach, when you first start GOGI, you start saying, "Oh, look at these tools. They're so simple. Belly breathing, and a boss of my brain. This is kid stuff." And there was a shift that happens. When I first started, I thought that, and then the more as I started that first course and I started to listen and apply the tools and internalize them, I changed completely from someone who said, "Okay, I'm just doing this GOGI stuff so I can get a certificate for the board." Because I totally changed to someone who I said, "Wow, I really like this group. These tools are simple, but if they're so simple, how come I'm not applying them?" So I had a shift, and I think a lot of people who enjoy GOGI and love GOGI and become coaches, they have that shift. So that was one of the biggest things I have to say about it. I started off doing groups just because I needed them for the board, and then I turned into loving them. And so for the coaches who are out there now, and if I can inspire you, I will say that you're not only helping other people, but I have helped myself. That's part of your own rehabilitation, is to give back what you've received. And it keeps you sharp, it keeps your own rehabilitation intact, and you continue to grow. You're not just because you're a coach or I'm a coach, we're still learning in these groups. We're still students ourselves, and we're still growing, and we still learn from each and every student that comes in there and shares his story. And just because we're a coach, someone still says something where you're like, "Wow, I never thought of it that way." And you're able to learn, you're able to pick up, and you're able to share. And you never know if that one little bit of sharing you've done or someone in your group does is the one thing that changes someone else's life or starts them on the path to rehabilitation. So for all the coaches out there, I'd say, great, become the coach, but you're going to continue to grow, and you're going to continue to help other people, and you're going to inspire other people through your own actions. And as we say, ultimate freedom is giving back to everyone else and enjoying and just feeling that great feeling of the freedom and helping other people. I can say that giving back to others is one of the main things that I could say for my rehabilitation that has inspired and continued me on the rehabilitation path, because it has increased my empathy. And through that empathy, you never want to hurt anyone again, and you want to help people. So sorry if I'm long-winded, but
Oh, no, I think that's a beautiful answer, and it will hit the hearts of many people who are listening. Justin, did you have one more question?
No. I just really want to thank him for his volunteering in the mailroom. It really helps out a lot. And like you said, it's that empathy, being able to connect with others, because I know my experience there, and I'm sure it's the same with him, it's a real sense of purpose and meaning in doing that, reaching out to people who are in the same shoes we were once in.
Yeah, beautiful.
absolutely.
Stacy, do you have some questions for Coach Patrick?
I do, yes. So you sort of kind of answered it a little bit. But I was gonna ask you, like, was there like a certain aha moment when all the tools and everything just kind of started to click for you? And then I have a kind of a second question that I'm hoping you'll answer. What would you say to people who might be a little bit resistant to starting, a new path?
Well, to someone who's trying to start a new path, I would say there's no magic bullet. There's no click a switch, but you have to start. And wanting to change is the first step. For me personally, I can say how GOGI affected me when I started out. I was a person who I thought, hey, I never, had this problem or that problem, or I never had a drug problem. Well, you know what? GOGI made me realize that it's about tools for positive decision making. So I could sit there and say that I wasn't I didn't have a drug problem or I didn't have this problem. But you know what? I still made poor decisions. So GOGI resonated with me because it was about making positive decisions. So it didn't matter whether I was drunk, whether I was a gang member or not, whether I had this situation or that situation. It didn't matter. I made poor decisions. So GOGI resonated with me because it was real life tools for making positive decisions. If I was making decisions that weren't positive, powerful, and productive, it didn't matter what my circumstances were. I needed to learn how to make those positive decisions. And that's what GOGI gave me. And that's why during my first course, the light switch came on. Like, wow, this is the group for me. Because it knocked all those other excuses that I gave myself before about I didn't have this problem or I didn't have that problem. And it focused in on my decision making, regardless of outside circumstances. So yes, that's how GOGI resonated with me. Yeah. And I'm sorry, was there a second part to your question that I didn't answer?
Actually, I think you kind of did combine both questions into one answer. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I really like what you said about how the GOGI tools really doesn't matter what your circumstance is. It's about making positive decisions moving forward. And I think that I think I'm going to start using that if you don't mind.
Sure, just 1995 for that advice.
No problem. Send me your Venmos.
So GOGI Mom, would you ask Coach Patrick some questions that might be kind of bouncing around in your brain?
Yes, I will. Coach Patrick, I think you mentioned that it was in about 2013. Is that what you said when you got your first book?
Yes.
So, and I know that Stacy asked, like, was there an aha moment or when did it click? And I think you said you read that first book and that was powerful enough right there. What book was that first book?
That was what was it? How to GOGI book, the original, the green. Yeah.
Okay. And how long did it take you to then actually attain the coach status?
I believe it was about a year and a half, I believe.
Wow.
I think it was about a year and a half, 2 years, maybe a little longer. Wow, that's a question I don't know the exact answer to, strangely enough. So, you know what? Maybe it was longer than that because I do remember submitting paperwork, and I think that was one of the things we had at GOGI because they started actually getting everything computerized, and I think there was a problem with some of my classes or my groups that were not registered from 2013. So I think I didn't get coach status till 2017 or 18, I believe.
Yeah, and that was one of your frustrations, Coach Patrick, was that you had been GOGI for so long, but we didn't have our database set until 2015.
Correct.
And I think you had to repeat a lot of courses, which I had a lot of compassion for because you'd said, but I did this, I did that. Well, database started 2015. So yes, I think it was 2017 that you actually got your coach status, and you probably earned coach status 2 times over, really.
Yeah.
I think the reason I'm asking these questions is I'm thinking that when some of the people on our weekly Power Up group, they don't quite understand when some of us have Coach Johnny, Coach James on the screen. And it really is a study that does take me. I'm on my 4th book now. At first I was like, this is just like common sense. I don't know. I already knew this, whatever. But and I need to read it again, and I need to repeat. And in the book I'm doing now, the domestic, not the domestic violence,
Substance abuse?
No, the criminal thinking. There we go. Criminal thinking. And so actually, I thought, and I was kind of glad to hear you kind of talk about this a little, Patrick, is I read the title of the book and I'm like, this book isn't me. I think one time when I worked at a school district, I took home a number 2 pencil. I made it so that it wasn't sharp, so I could lick it and put my eyebrows on because I didn't have money to buy an eyebrow pencil. Honest to goodness. But I thought, what is this criminal thinking one going to do for me? Well, I'm about in module 4 right now, and this morning I was doing it again. And it has a lot to do about me. It has a lot to do about me. So I just want to say, like you said, well, whether somebody was, you know, in a gang or drinking or drugs or whatever, these books are for the whole person.
Absolutely.
And I just think then maybe I want to ask you one more thing. And I know we've asked about what your favorite was and why. Can you tell me what your favorite book was and why?
Oh, now that is a good one. Wow, I like them all. I'm trying to think of what would be my favorite. You know, I think if it's the correct book, and I think it's the criminal thinking book, where they talk about changing criminal thinking into community thinking.
Community, yes.
So the criminal thinking, I really liked that because that was a whole different pathway of addressing criminal thinking. So I really liked it. Rather than just saying, don't do crime, you know, or don't think about crime in this way. It said, no, instead, think about your community and develop that empathy for others.
Yes.
And through that empathy, you're not going to want to hurt anyone, or you're going to have compassion for people. You want to help people instead of hurt people. So that was probably my favorite book. And it was really something that I had done so much GOGI by that time. I was surprised by that book, actually. When most of the GOGI books, I had done so many GOGI classes, I was surprised at that whole twist on criminal thinking in that book. And that really opened my eyes to something I was doing already, but it put a label to something that I had been doing the whole time and not realizing.
Right.
So I really loved the criminal thinking book.
That's cool. And you know what else touches my heart is reading what GOGI students wrote in their own handwriting and is published in that book. And I have told so many people over and over, if I had not had a son who was in prison for 30 years in the California Department prisons and juvenile and everything, I had a whole different about those people. And I have changed. That has changed me so much. And talk about empathy and stuff and the why, the decisions, the poor decisions, but to read all of those testimonies and I'm only in module 4, that everybody can and they do change. And
absolutely,
it's just so powerful. And I'm glad that the parole board, someone said to you that, hey, start doing this GOGI thing because parole board likes it. I'm glad that that word is out in the prisons.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And welcome.
And they asked me, I'm sorry. Yeah, and they asked me. Go ahead. Okay, I was just gonna say yes, and they did ask me about GOGI and the parole board. I just wanted to make that so everyone knew that. They asked me my tools, what was the favorite, and they loved the support letter I got from GOGI, and but they wanted to know that I knew it. So again, that goes to not just doing something for the parole board, but internalizing it. They asked me about my GOGI tools. They asked me what was my favorite, and they had me repeat all 12 of them since in my writings, I talked about GOGI and it being my favorite. They wanted to make sure that I was real about it. So that is something that everyone needs to know and internalize it. Don't just do it. It's not just a check mark. You're not just checking off something to say you've done it. It's about changing your life and living in a different way.
I'm so grateful, Coach Patrick, one, that you are here and able to speak to anybody watching this. And you're certainly an inspiration for all of us and including those that are watching. So congratulations on the journey. You probably had uphill coach status journey of all with the least amount of support and least amount of recognition, and you still kept pushing. So congratulations, you are a soldier and a warrior, and now you are a gift to your community, for which we are very grateful. We have about 30 seconds. What last message would you like to give to the world about their potential or your commitment to them?
As far as my commitment, I'd say that I'm committed to continue to give back to my community in any which way I can, and the GOGI tools are a big part of that. And for other people, I would say that give back to your community, give back to the people where you are, whether that's in prison or whether you're free. Give back, and you can realize an internal freedom, an ultimate freedom, that it doesn't matter where you are. And you can change yourself. And if each person changes themselves, maybe you can't change the world by yourself, but if each person changes themselves and another person changes themselves, that's how we change the world and bring these GOGI tools and positivity to everyone.
If you will put yourself on mute, Coach Patrick, I'm gonna say the GOGI pledge. You will say it after me, so it's call response. And hopefully those watching it will be able to follow suit and do the same. I will say, you repeat, you will be unmuted. Make a commitment
Mayor,
to the study of GOGI. Grant us the joy of giving and receiving, so that our inner freedom may be of maximum service to those we love and infinite others. Thank you, everybody. Okay, unmute. Let's say goodbye.
G-O-G-I. Gogi told me this, I got to do it. G-O-G-I. G-O-G-I.